I don't know. I mean, it is, I obviously understand the toxicity of it. My pledge class was 44 girls.
Oh, yeah.
And I lived in a lot of places.
That's a lot.
There's no sorority houses because if like 8 women live together, it's a
brothel.
brothel.
Yeah, stupid rule.
And it's like,
the same.
Ohio, you wish you had that many brothels, okay?
Yeah.
The economy would be doing a lot better if we had sex workers in every single house with 8 women. But Indiana's like, you can get all the bitches in a house you want. You just can't get an abortion, and we don't want you reading books, but have as much fun as you want.
Hey Delta Gamma sisters, my name is Marcos González, and this is Inside the Funny or Die Vault. We're going to take a look back at classic Funny or Die videos and talk internet comedy and culture from then to now. Today's guest is a comedian, actress, and podcast host who you've seen on Conan and After Midnight, Megan Gailey. Welcome to the Funny or Die Vault.
Thank you very much.
Of course. We're going to jump into a bunch of questions, but before we do that, we're going to talk about the video that you chose, which was Michael Shannon Reads the Insane Delta Gamma Sorority Letter. For those of you at home who haven't seen it, around 2013, Delta Gamma sister put out this scathing email to the rest of her sorority sisters, essentially ripping them for the night before. It went viral, and then 3 days later, Funny or Die got Michael Shannon to read the letter out loud.
If you're reading this right now and saying to yourself, OMG, Becca, I've been having so much fun with my sisters this week, then punch yourself in the face.
So why did you choose this video?
I was in a sorority.
Amazing.
And whenever like sorority controversies or things that happen in sororities like raise to the cultural zeitgeist, I'm always fascinated to see what former Greek members think of it, because this letter to me is very on par with things that were said constantly. Like the only thing I think she did wrong is leaving a paper trail. Like it's like she needed to say this not in an email. She needed to say this like at a chapter meeting, and that would like we would be taken down into the basement and called dumb sluts all the time. And then when like even now you'll still see these TikTok videos from like Alabama Rush, and all the like girls are doing the dance and stuff, and people were like, "This is insane," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you don't know it's crazy when you're doing it until you step out and be like, oh yeah, this is crazy to most people."
Where was sorority life for you? Like, where did you go to school?
I went to Purdue University,
Amazing.
which has it's a massive like student population. It's like over 30,000 kids. It has a massive Greek community, and I don't mean like feta cheese, you know.
Yeah.
When I'm saying Greek, I mean
culture.
Yes. And I wish there was more hummus there, but it was really a ton of fraternities, ton of sororities, and since the school is so big, for me, I kind of felt like, oh, I need something to like give myself a sense of community. My mom was president of her sorority. My dad was in a fraternity. Both of my older brothers were in a fraternity. So yeah, I did not know that it was like a weird thing to be in a sorority or fraternity. Everyone I like grew up around went on to do that.
Okay, so what was it like joining a sorority like because obviously you talked about these like TikTok Rush videos,
Yeah.
like that's such an easy way to like persuade people to come. What was your decision? Was your mom part of that sorority, so you just followed along, or was there like options for you?
So I actually had a family friend came over the summer going into my freshman year of college, and basically was like, Phi Mu is like this, Alpha Phi is like this, Kappa Kappa Gamma is like this, and just like wrote me a cheat sheet of all the different places. And then I had to get together a resume, a headshot. Like I guess I could have gone into it without that stuff, but it would have sort of set me behind. And this is just Big Ten. Like the Southern schools take it way more seriously, but I had referrals, I had letters to certain places. And this was, luckily, I did it all pre-social media. Facebook, I joined Facebook my freshman year of college, and I was already in the sorority. And by sophomore year, when girls were rushing, we were pulling up their Facebook profiles and like pointing things out and stuff.
We did the same thing. I was part of a fraternity. I was SAE, and we would pull up their Facebooks and be like pros and cons.
Yes.
Like, go through all of it. Like, who do they know? What do they not know? Like, oh, this picture is like incriminating, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's so gnarly.
Yeah, and I, like having been on the other side of it, honestly, it probably prepared me for show business because it's brutal and mean and very
So
much based
cutthroat.
on like appearance and having certain things. But it really, I luckily did not, once I was like through it, then I just wanted to be in the skit and like, I like wrote and directed and starred in the skit and then didn't have to do any of like the really mean stuff.
So what was it like once you were, like what was the sort of process of you joining the sorority? What was that like for you then? Like once you decided, okay, this is the one, and they obviously have to like, you like court each other.
You get matched.
Yeah, you like
you
get
get matched.
the court, and then it's like, oh, they want you, you want them.
And
it's
some
like
people
the
don't
anxiety of
get
it.
their match, and so you would
Nightmare.
like, you would be walking, and I remember all the matching we found out in like the communications building, and I remember walking in, and there just being white girls scream, crying in the hallway, and you're like, oh my god, like
It's
it was
also, like-
crazy.
Like my sister went to FSU, went through a similar
Yeah,
process.
yeah.
It's like crazy that these schools are like, yeah, that just happens. Like we don't really have anything to do with it. It just happens.
I'm
It's
sure
like
it's
so toxic.
I'm sure it's different
Yeah.
now, and I do think because like I was going to insane frat parties that like Shaggy was performing at. You know, like
That's
they would
insane.
definitely. I mean, listen, these are A-listers, okay? But there were certain like sort of like marquee events, which I do think is what this letter is talking about. Like it sounds like they're paired with SNU for something.
Yeah.
Sigma, Nu.
I think.
What is the N?
I honestly like.
I
I feel like
forget the
I feel like they
alphabet.
make you memorize the alphabet.
Alpha, Beta, Chi.
I'm not even going down this road with you. You
Delta.
can get it. I'm so
I
proud of you.
skipped a lot of pledge training because I was also a theater major. So I'd be like, oh, I gotta get you an analog, and then like skip-a-doo out of there.
Yeah, so I went to an art school, so
Yeah.
it was like the fraternity sorority life doesn't even really count, but
No.
they still make you like, and I was our pledge leader guy, so I was like the head of our class, and there was like 8 of us.
There was only 8. Oh,
It was it was really supposed to be an art school. Nobody
Yeah,
wanted to
that's
be in a
so
fraternity life.
funny.
It's just like someone was like, hey, you're chill, you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, I got nothing else to do.
8 boys. Like
8 boys.
It's basically just
But
like
they
a
still, like,
detention.
But our hate, because they were also like being weird about hazing, but I remember like because there's always like a specific thing that people are known for, right? And ours was they
Yeah.
would lock you in a room and play Mr. Big. Do you remember that band?
Yeah.
They're like, hold on,
I'm
little
the
girl.
one who wants.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite songs
So
of all
that
time.
okay, so
So,
it can't be mine anymore.
I guess I'm gonna be an SAE at
Yeah, you could be an
Emerson.
SA at Emerson. The issue is when you're the head. I didn't know this. When you're the head of the pledge, or whatever, like they do like a quiz, like a long form quiz for everybody. And we were held in a basement, and this song was playing, and each person's quiz is like 30 minutes. And I think there was like 8 or 9 of us. So I was in there listening to that song on repeat for about 4 hours. I don't like Mr. Big anymore.
No.
And I don't even think I liked it that much to begin with. Like it was a fine song. But now I
It's a
can't, if I hear it, I like
incredible
start
song.
sweating. I'm like, oh, yeah, here we go. You know?
Okay, so yours was that you were our
We had
urban,
other crazy stuff, but that
yeah,
was it.
our urban legend was that we got our like mascot was an owl. So our urban
Oh,
legend
yeah.
was that we got put in a coffin with
Oh,
with
that's
an
worse.
owl.
That's so much worse. Did they actually do it, or that was just like the
No.
rumor?
No, but when
Oh,
you're
okay.
initiated, they do put a blindfold on you, and you go, "Well, guess I'm getting in a coffin
Here comes
today."
the owl. Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
they did that. The blindfold thing is such a like.
I
They
know.
would like walk you through the house and be like, "Do you trust us?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I guess, dude. Like, not really, but like, what am I gonna say? No? Then
Yeah.
I lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it is, I obviously understand the
Yeah.
toxicity of it. My pledge class was 44 girls.
Oh yeah.
And I lived in a lot of
That's
places.
a lot.
There's no sorority houses because if like 8 women live together, it's a
brothel.
brothel.
Yeah, stupid rule.
And
Boston's
it's like,
the same.
Ohio, you wish you had that many brothels, okay?
Yeah.
The economy would be doing a lot fucking better if we had sex workers in every single house with 8 women. But Indiana's like, you can get all the bitches in a house you want. You just can't get an abortion, and we don't want you reading books, but have as much fun as you want. And so we lived in a massive house that had like 80 women that lived in it.
Was it like a nice house, or was it like decrepit? Like
Gorgeous on the outside.
Yep.
Inside, some creaking and some ghosts for sure. And then like
we
there
love
would-
ghosts. Ghosts are
yeah,
good.
there would be ghosts.
Necessary.
There was
Yeah.
we lived in this thing called cold air, where the top floor is I don't even know if they still do this. So the top floor is basically a massive attic that has sets of bunk beds, like 30
oh,
to
crazy.
30 bunk beds in them, so 60 girls. And no matter the time of year, all of the windows are left open 24 hours a day.
That's like an orphanage. That I feel right.
Yeah,
It's just
and you're
like,
paying like a lot of money.
That's
Luckily,
insane.
I slept in there one semester, and then I was like, I'm gonna need my own room.
See, we did one house. We couldn't. We obviously could not afford a house like that.
Yeah.
And in Boston, it's like you just go where you can. And I remember we lived in a place called Alston, which is known as Rat City.
Amazing.
There was 10 of us in a house. 3 of us lived in a hallway. Like they just would like put something in the hallway and sleep. And there was a giant hole from the kitchen into the basement, and you could see directly down into the basement. And if we had too many people, the floor would bend. Terrible place.
Okay, ours was nicer than
Yours
this.
is way better.
Now
the
I
60
feel bad.
people in one space, spooky. But
Yes.
falling through your ground, maybe worse.
No, cold air, very, very spooky.
Yeah.
But I hightailed it out of there. Some girls really liked it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was your like? Did you like try to rise up the ranks of like your sorority? 'Cause I
Not
never
at
really-
all. Not at all.
Amazing.
I said
Okay.
I'd like to do as little as possible. I am here to get drunk and have sex with different people than the rest. Like all the girls, like
That's all you gotta do.
fraternity guys, and
Yeah.
I was like, listen, I'm here for the athletes, and they were like, you can have them, and I'm like, you're making a mistake. You know, if you're not going for the athletes, you're never gonna get to have sex with a member of the practice squad of the Carolina Panthers. But have fun with the SIG-Eps, you fucking dorks. So I was just there to have a good time, and everyone was blonde, and I was coming in with sort of like red hair, freckle energy, and they were like, this is an interesting white girl twist. And I just wanted to get fucked up and have some laughs. And I'm still friends with a lot of the girls. Like,
For real?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's wild.
I'm still friends with a lot of the girls. We still go on trips together.
Oh, see, like that's the best part. My sister does that too. It's like she doesn't talk to them for like months, and then they're
Yes.
like, "We're all in Ibiza now," and I'm like, "Cool."
Well, we are going to like Northwest Indiana. We are not
That's also
going to
cool.
Ibiza.
Hey, listen, I don't know. My sister lives a very different life
No,
from me.
yeah, it's like one bitch has a lake house, and it's like we're going to the lake
going to the lake
house
house.
in January.
That's
but like
sick.
we still do that, you know, now. And like the last trip I went on, like one of the girls had half an edible and freaked out. Like we're still sorority girls.
So how did like sorority life? Did it bleed into comedy? Like where did comedy come from?
Absolutely.
Oh,
so
hell
like
yeah.
I was a theater major.
Oh, yeah.
So I was acting when I was in college, and then I got to host the mom's weekend auction that was for my
At the
sorority.
Okay.
And so I would host that every single year and just roast all of the presents that these moms were bringing up. People were bringing up like crystal dolphins to auction off. And I think the money went to Make-A-Wish. Like listen, Make-A-Wish is a wonderful organization, but it's such a like, we are white girls, where do we give money to? Make-A-Wish. You know, like you can't think out of the box at all. Just like sick children, we want world peace. And so the money all went to Make-A-Wish. And people were, you know, bringing like weird Coach bags with patchwork and stuff. And so I would usually probably still be a little drunk from the night before and then just roast these bags. And these moms would come up afterwards and be like, you have got to do stand-up comedy, which is the worst thing you can tell someone.
Okay, quick question though. Did you ever piss anybody off to the
Yeah.
point where they got mad at you?
There was definitely like 1 or 2 moms that I remember not liking me, and I didn't like their daughters. And I was like, well,
Oh,
you
so then
fucked up your daughters.
it's
so
equal. Yeah.
And then like all the moms that did like me, I was like, you're cool. Have I followed up on any of their politics? Absolutely not. Not going to.
Okay, so when they told you to do stand up, you actually were like, I'll pursue it now, or was like, what was?
I was like, okay. And then I graduated in the peak of the 2008 recession.
Oh.
Which actually worked out for me because I didn't want to get a job. And I was like, I'm not really a worker bee. And then I just had something to blame it on. I was like, the recession, you know, as I, meanwhile, sent out 0 resumes. And so I moved home and then started doing stand-up and taking care of my grandmother who had Alzheimer's.
Okay, so you're doing like stand up in the Midwest.
Stand-up in the Midwest, in
How
Indianapolis.
how did you move to the coast? Like, what was like the trajectory of like, all right, I'm doing stand up here. Like, where do you?
The trajectory is you do it in Indianapolis, and then you see someone who is even less capable than you move to Chicago.
Yep.
And you go, if they can move to Chicago, I can move to Chicago. And so then I moved to Chicago. I was there for 5.5 years.
Okay, and what was Chicago like? Like, was it just like strictly comedy? Like, were you taking other jobs before? Obviously, like sometimes don't hit it right off the bat. So how did it go?
I've yet to hit it. I was a bartender.
Amazing.
And waitress, and worked at a retirement community.
Okay.
And so we just sort of floated between those like 3 jobs. I worked all of them 3 different times.
And with like comedy, was it strictly stand-up, or were you trying to? Because I know obviously you got Second City, you got the improv world. Did you try improv as well? Okay,
I
cool.
did the full training program at IO.
Oh, very cool.
And then kind of was just like, I think I like stand-up better, which is saying a lot because all my friends were like deeply unwell men 15 years older than me. But I really like gravitated. The scene was really, this was 2009. I think I moved there, the very beginning of 2009. The wave of really successful like Chicago stand-ups that we know of now, like the Kumails, the Pete Holmes, the Kyle Kinanes, they had all just left. And there sort of was this like empty vacuum of, you guys can all be little weird freaks. No industry. No one was looking at us. Stand-up was absolutely the redheaded stepchild to sketch and improv, like in Chicago. Like that was everyone moved to Chicago to do sketch and improv. And so if you were doing stand-up there, I was like, why are you here? But there were amazing shows, really good open mics, and really funny, deeply disturbed people.
And so when you were doing these, like, I think you said you were working as a bartender, nursing home, what was the third one?
And a waitress.
Okay, and a waitress.
Yeah.
So I know I got this like really good advice when I came out here, where it was like, hey, like when you first take a job, take it in something that's not what you want to pursue, because it'll like drive you to want to do more in comedy. Would you say that was like the case, where you're like, okay, this is fun, but I want to do this?
Yeah, I think I had worked in restaurants since I was like 15. And so that was something I was comfortable in. And I also saw enough comics that had 9 to 5s that I was like, I just don't think that that is going to be conducive to what I want to be doing at night. Because you wanted to be able to do like 3 mics a night. And it was like, if you're not getting up 10 times a week, you don't really, it was very much hustle culture then. And a lot of my friends worked at Groupon. That was like a massive employer of Chicago comedians. And then the Cheesecake Factory. Everyone worked at Cheesecake Factory and Groupon.
Cheesecake Factory is still a thing, by the way.
Oh.
Lots of comedians work at Cheesecake Factory. I'll never knock it. Their bread's great.
I would go work there right now. Like I'm like, oh no, I actually don't like a corporate restaurant. I like a one-off restaurant.
Mom and pop situation?
Yeah, way less rules. Because I did the training process at this really fancy restaurant that did lunch. So I was like, I'm gonna be able to make bank and it's not gonna interfere with stand-up at all. But I had to be able to carry 3 glasses on my hand. And I was like, first of all, this is misogynistic. I have much smaller hands than this like divorced dad over here. And I just was like, I physically cannot work here. I can't do it.
I had to do the same thing when I was in college. I was like, I gotta pay tuition off, whatever. Like my parents can't cover it. I'll work at a bar, and I chose like the bougiest bar. It was a bar that looked like a normal dive bar, but was connected to a James Beard award-winning restaurant.
Oh God!
And they decided they wanted to open a bar. It was very bare-coded.
Yeah.
And same thing. I had to learn all this crazy shit that I'm never going to utilize ever again.
You're muddling. You're shaking. Yeah.
And the whole thing was like, we're going to take like bar foods, but like sophisticate
elevate them.
So it's like spaghetti, but it's made with our own barbecue sauce and something we've smoked for 12 hours. It was actually weird. Everything was good. I have to give them that.
Okay.
But it was
city
just
was
like
this?
so spookily bougie.
This was in Boston?
This was like Cambridge. So it was like Boston, but like bougie Boston, which is like as soon as you cross that bridge, you're like, all right, it's Harvard time.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. It was like on the MIT campus. Weirdest.
Are they good tippers?
No, but I'm assuming you also got a bunch of really interesting characters that come in, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
it was like fodder for comedy.
Yeah, I worked at a bar in Chicago. Like it's like I have seen more shit than I would ever want any 23-year-old girl to see.
Oh yeah.
One of my closing duties was to go into the men's bathroom and wipe cocaine off the toilet paper dispenser.
Amazing.
We were a real hot spot for disbarred attorneys. Whew.
Interesting.
You want to hear some stories? serve 18 Stoli on the rocks to a man who's not allowed to practice law anymore.
Like recently, or he had just been like, he just roams the city
Hard to
disbarred?
tell. Hard to tell.
Really?
And some of them would come in a suit and tie because their families didn't know that they'd been disbarred. So they would pretend they were going to work, and then they would just come and get fucked
Dude,
up.
that's so much. We had like, I just remember we had one regular that was so fun. His name was, we called him Sweet Pickles because he would just go to the bar and only order pickles, like the bread and butter pickles, like sweet ones. And then he would exclusively hit on women who had their boyfriends or husbands next to them. And then once he'd realize it, he would just buy them all drinks and then leave. But it happened so frequently. Like it was like, do you have no, and sometimes it was only them at the bar. And it's like, you gotta have like some self-awareness, man.
The regulars at this bar became like family.
Really?
I ended up staying at one of their houses and watching
wild.
their cats. The nice thing is my like family friend owned the bar, and my brother had also worked there, and so I really did sort of like know everyone. And it was in the first floor of a high rise that was right on Lake Michigan, like in downtown Chicago.
Oh, wow.
So people would come down in their like pajamas and slippers.
Oh, that's really chill.
Yeah.
So then let's go from Chicago to when did you leave Chicago? Like what was that big moment for you?
All of my friends started to leave, and I didn't want to be like the last one there. And I had really reached like the ceiling of what I could do in Chicago at that time. And I always thought I was going to come to LA because I'm vain. And then all my friends went to New York, and I was like, I guess I'll go to New York. And so I went to New York for just under 2 years.
2 years.
And then I was like, I'm good.
And were you doing, like when you were doing stand-up at the time, were there like, did the internet, were people posting things yet, or was it still kind of early days?
I mean, people were doing Funny or Die. That was like a big get. I think BuzzFeed, you can bleep it out.
Oh, yeah.
Had maybe started.
Oh, yeah, beep.
So yeah, I think that had my now husband got like a job through Funny or Die, and he was just my friend at the time, and we all thought that was really cool.
Yeah, they were working with like the NBA, right?
Yes, the Pistons. So he got hired like by Funny or Die to move to Detroit in 2014, maybe 2013. I mean, like it was the time when people were saying like bears lived in buildings in Detroit. Like it was like a very like, oh, Detroit versus everybody. Like everybody was sort of like shitting on Detroit. I love Detroit. I love any Midwestern city that has like a chip on its shoulder, minus St. Louis, and you know why. But like Cleveland, Chicago, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Indianapolis, ride hard.
Was there a hesitation, or was he just like, I'm in, let's go?
He had no money, and so he was
that'll
like,
do it.
I'm in, let's go.
And you go where the money is.
So last night he was like, Funny or Die kind of saved my life. I was like, oh dear, maybe you should do the podcast. So he moved to Detroit and and basically ran content for the Pistons for a season, and made videos for the team that would play during the games, you know, up on the on the Jumbotron, and then internet campaigns. So he did a very successful internet campaign that got Andre Drummond, the Pistons center at the time, into the All-Star game because it was based on fan voting, and so he created a voting campaign that got him into the game.
Damn, that's wild. So in New York, were you trying to make videos? Were you anti-videos? What was your like stance on putting your content out into the world outside of just like your live performance?
I was not making videos, and that like it was, when I was in New York, Broad City was kind of like just going on the air. And so you could see, and I had read maybe Mindy Kaling's book, and I think they were doing videos that then turned into, so there were people that were making things, and we would do like sketches here and there. You would be asked to be in someone's short, but it was not pervasive in any way. No one was filming their stand-up sets. There were definitely people that you'd be like, oh, they make silly videos, but they were almost like, they were usually not also like hitting it full time doing stand-up too. It was a little bit like, oh, we all know each other, but less we are like all the same. It was
Was there like a hesitation behind not wanting to post like videos, or was it just like, oh, you weren't into it? Like, what was the sort of like thought process behind that?
I just was like a stand-up, and I just wanted to do stand-up, and then I got cast in an MTV show that was a hidden camera prank show.
Love it.
And so that actually felt very sort of internet.
Yeah.
Even though it was on television, it would be something now that you would see on TikTok instead of like being on the boob tube.
And how do you feel about like comedy now? Like so many stand-ups are getting their start off of like random videos they post on TikTok.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Like, do you wish like you could have utilized it like early on, or are you kind of like anti it? Like people tend to have like a pretty firm stance on like internet comedy, so I'm just curious.
Yeah. I do not have an entrepreneurial bone in my body.
Same.
So like if I was starting now, I probably wouldn't start. Because I'd be like, oh, if I have to like set up a boom mic, it's not gonna happen. Like I chose stand up because you literally get there 10 minutes after the show starts, do your set, and then can stay and watch or not. You know, like especially I have a kid now, so it's like I go, I do my set, and I get the fuck out of there, and it's awesome.
But your kid could film it for you, right?
Listen. Get him on TikTok, okay? I'm like, let's turn the camera around. You're biracial, okay? Every biracial child in America is blowing up on TikTok. Mama wants some money. So I see the good in it, where it's like I had the opportunity to move to Chicago and then to New York and then to Los Angeles. That's obviously a privilege that not everybody can be like, I'm gonna move to these very expensive cities to try and like do comedy. That sounds dumb and crazy and insane. And I understand that if you don't have the means or the support or getting outside of your comfort zone because of whatever happened in your life can be very difficult and crazy. So I definitely think there's a way where there's positives to it. I would say as like a 38-year-old woman who did the old system and now it's totally changed, I'm like, well, this isn't great. You know, like I guess at my core too, whenever people are like, what's the hardest thing about being a female comedian? And I'm like, listen, I love being a woman. You seem like an awesome man, but I would like choose being a woman every life for the rest of my life. Like I just really do enjoy it. That doesn't mean it's easy. And I think the hardest part about it is safety. And so when I am out at night doing stand-up, it is very unsafe for me. And that's just the reality of what it is to be a woman out in the world. And I think with videos, when you are posting yourself, it opens you up to a world that can be extremely mean and extremely hateful and extremely frightening. I am posting videos as a 38-year-old woman, 4 months postpartum, and people are calling me fat. And it's like, you know what, bitch? I think I look great. You are not gonna permeate this, but that comes with age and with having been through some shit. I see 23-year-olds posting videos and just the most hateful things. And I'm like, I don't know that that is a fair and healthy way to exist on the internet with people just able to say whatever they want to you and there be no repercussions for the hate that is spewed.
Yeah, you're kind of like blowing up the concept of like a heckler normally at any show, and now it's like every heckler that exists on the earth now has access to you.
Yeah.
And they can just hide behind their screen, so it doesn't matter.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a way to find you. There's a way to track you. Like
that's the scarier part.
It's
that part
really
I
scary
don't like.
And it's really like so tapped in. So with the good also comes this very nefarious bad too. Yeah. And I do think it's made crowds worse.
Yeah. And just curious, like to get into the actual, like without saying it like in a cheesy way, but like the craft of stand-up, like the way you do stand-up. Because I know there's like so many different ways to do it now. Like I've seen people that are literally just, especially on TikTok, crowd work people. All they do is crowd work.
Yeah.
So I'm really
and guess
curious.
What? They're not that good.
Yeah.
Because I love crowd work.
Let's go.
And I've seen good crowd. Like I think crowd work is such an art form, and I really love it. Love to do it. And the crowd work that I see, like that gets big, I'm like, that is not good crowd work. That has zero art to it. And when you're there live seeing it, it's just them going, what do you do? Okay, that's not, where are you from? And it's like, tell a fucking joke.
They wait for the nugget as opposed to just going through.
Yeah, and like you'll go to these clubs that are like world famous, incredible, amazing stand-up clubs, and people will be doing 80% bad crowd work. And that's why I think the audience has gotten worse, because you perform to, you raise them up. Like if you are going to be doing something, you are going to lift the intelligence level and the art form up, but you're now performing to the lowest common denominator, and it's just kind of like washed out bullshit.
Yeah, and I feel like they honestly, like, a lot of the time want to be used. Like, I feel like most audiences in the past, or at least from my experience, don't want to be part of the show.
And
There's, like,
that's right.
to it.
They're right. If you want to be talked to, I don't want you at the show.
Yeah, and
You're
then they
bad.
like, sit front row and just like wait for someone to say something to them, and they're like upset when they don't get used. And I'm like, I don't know.
I also don't want
that.
those people voting. I want you. Nope.
It's like the pick me syndrome. But okay, so with your like specific brand of stand up, what would you say is like you're kind of like that's the thing that I'm really good at, or the thing that I decided to focus on, that you realized was like your sort of bread and butter?
I think being a bitch.
And that's great.
I think being sort of like a, it used to be very much like, oh, this is a sorority girl yelling at us. And now it's like, well, now I'm like a mom. I'm a married mom.
So you're saying you were this YouTube video. You were this funny.
Yeah. Except for I wasn't president. I was like, oh, listen, I'll call you a pig cunt. But I want no leadership position. So it's like I'm going through this evolution, I say, of like I'm transitioning from slut to mother. And so it's like there's still really that like edge to it, and I definitely rant. My husband's always like, you're raw and uncut. Like I am wild, but I am like talking about being a mom just as a crazy person.
And just to like jump into a lot of these, because I love like stand-up stories of like terrible places you performed, great places you performed. What is like the most like ingrained memory you have of like a performance that's either gone like super well or like went way off the rails? Like you were like, ah, shit.
So I was performing at a converted barn in Wisconsin, and I was featuring for the weekend. This is when I still lived in Chicago. I used to road feature. Like I could just leave from Chicago, drive anywhere within like 6 to 8 hours and do a lot of like club feature work, which is wildly unsafe, but definitely like helped me cut my teeth in a really aggressive way. And so I was doing this barn in Wisconsin, and my best friend was back in Chicago, and she'd gotten engaged, and everybody was like getting together and like throwing her like a surprise, you just got engaged party. And I was really sad I wasn't there, and I'm up on stage, and these people did not like me, and I just like was not connecting with them, and a man yelled out, "You look sad."
Oh my God.
And it fucking cut me to my core so deeply. Like it's like, to be like, you're not funny, or like but to like just like to like label an emotion to what I was doing. And I absolutely did feel sad. I destroyed this man, cut into him so viciously. Wish there was a recording of that, because that's fucking crowd work. And then that was the first show, went out to my car, cried for like 30 minutes, and then went back in and did the second show.
Oh my God. It was a back-to-back?
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, how do you get like past stuff like that? Because I know, like, I was talking to someone about like improv and characters and things like that, and like you have this like sort of facade to hide behind of like, oh, you don't like this? That's fine.
That's some lady.
Yeah, or like that was just you gave me the suggestion and it didn't work. Whatever.
Stand up. It's like, oh, you hate me.
Yeah. How do you get over that?
You don't.
You don't? Like, is there ever like a really?
No.
I've always been curious, because I'm like, that has always been something that's like stopped me from ever wanting to do stand up.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want that.
No, you don't really get over it. And it's like, this is a business where people are always like, don't take anything personally. And that's obviously great advice. But it's like, when the business is me as a person, like that is hard to be like, damn, they just didn't like me. And I've had people come up to me and be like, I really like that character you do. And you're like, oh, she seems so crazy that I made her up. Like,
see, that's the other thing, is like there's stand-ups where I see where I'm like, oh, that person's like so chill, and then like I'll meet their friend, and their friend will be like, no, that's a character they do. They're not like that at all.
Yeah.
There's like a whole other thing where I'm like,
oh
like,
yeah.
How do people figure that out?
I think a really good rule of thumb, when someone's like stand up or character is like, I'm nice, I'm a really sweetie pie.
Bullshit.
They're the worst person on earth.
So back to like your trajectory. We went to Chicago, got to New York. What brought you to LA? Yeah.
So I did New Faces unrepped. Like I had no
Stand-up, yeah.
representation in 2015, and then it was honestly like it changed the trajectory of my entire like life and career. Got representation, got a late night set from it, got that aforementioned MTV show that very few people watched, and then decided to move to LA.
Which moment do you think was like your big like Hollywood moment? Like, this is like my big first step. Was it that?
Yeah.
Sort of JFL?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Especially because I didn't have any representation. I didn't even like know what a manager was. Like I had been in New York when I got it less than 6 months. So I was still very Midwestern and like my parent, I'm not, there's not a nepotism bone in my body. My mom is a nurse. My dad was a HR executive. Like they don't know about this world. And so that was really like the break for me.
And what was that like late night set? First of all, who was the late night host?
I got to do Conan.
Conan, amazing.
And that was really like the one to do at the time just because he was like, he's Irish Catholic. So it's like, I wanted to be with him. Yeah. The first thing he said to me was, "You look like everyone in my family." So it was like we connected.
That's
and
adorable.
I had never done anything. Like I had never been on television in any way, and then got to do stand up on like my favorite of all the shows with my favorite host. That it was absolutely insane.
Yeah. Were you like super nervous? What was that like?
I was really nervous. I remember putting like leg makeup on my legs and like feeling really like confident and good about my body for like the first time ever in my life. And so I had like a dress that was like cut up to here. And then like I showed my knees, which I never did. And then all the comments were like, them knees. People kept commenting on what ugly knees I had and what fat arms I had.
Oh no. I was gonna parlay
and I was like, I thought I looked great.
I was gonna parlay that like, what's the best and worst comment you've ever gotten on a video or anything online?
Okay.
So I'm assuming knees has got to be. Was that bad?
Dem knees dough.
Dem knees dough.
I mean, you got my ass.
We gotta frame that one. Dem knees dough.
I'm not kneed, and like, yeah, I know. I couldn't be a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. I've learned that in the last month. So I am knock-kneed, and some people are not into that. I did get a comment like 2 weeks ago that was like, ugh. Why are all comedians fucking supermodels now? I hate it. And I was like, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened.
Is this a video you posted recently? Dude, that's huge. That's the best one. That like cancels out Dem Knees Dough so hardcore. That's like 10 Dem Knees Dough in the positive direction.
There is such a thing as like hot girl comedy.
Yeah.
But I thought that's what I was doing like in 2014. And then I saw like who are the hot girls now. And I was like, I was doing like regular ass girl comedy.
See, I don't even know. I guess there is hot guy comedy. Mine was so far. Characters don't work for girls. Don't want to see the wigs you have. Girls don't want to see you put on teeth in a diaper.
No.
No. Like I had a guy
named. But then you take off the stuff and it's like,
I don't even know.
You're having like a real swan moment.
I don't think they do that. I think that's nice to think they do that.
You have a gorgeous head of hair.
Thank you.
You have great facial hair.
That's huge.
I think really good bone structure. You're so handsome. I feel like you would take off a wig and they'd be like, oh my God, he's a hunk underneath.
See, that's awesome. I'll love that forever. But no, I mean, last year I had a character called Baby Grandpa, which is like I was having fun.
I love babies and I love grandpas.
Exactly, and I was making fun of like the music. Everybody's got a gimmick now. Like Orville Peck has like those weird tentacles for a face, right?
Yeah.
Or like Lady Gaga technically is Baby Grandpa. Lady Gaga, she's a baby lady. And there's like all these stupid gimmicks, and I was like, what if this dude's gimmick is half of his body? He's got Benjamin Buttons at the same time. It's like half his body's baby and half of his body's old man.
And people were horny for it?
Not at all. Nobody was horny for it. It went on too long. I wore a diaper the whole time, and sometimes my ass would just hang out of diaper. Diapers aren't meant for grown men.
Were you wearing baby diapers?
No, I got men diapers.
You got Depends.
I got Depends, but even then, like, you're wearing it under jeans. The reveal is part of the joke always.
No, of course. Listen.
And here's the thing: when you pull your jeans down, sometimes the baby diaper gets stuck.
I will say when you give birth to a child, they give you diapers to wear because your body rips open, and they are the best underwear I've ever had in
Really?
my life. So if there's a way that you can get your hands on some postpartum diapers,
I actually
think
learned about this.
I think that character is going to be
I
really
learned
good.
about this because I worked with someone who was pregnant at the time, and she was like, did this kind of open thing where she was like, if you have any baby questions,
Great.
ask me.
I love her.
And I was like, for some reason in my head, I just assume once the baby comes out, everything just goes like, whoop, and just like right on back. Like everything's just normal again. And I was like, what happens? And she goes, dude, it's a whole lot of work. Like,
Yeah.
and it was like this whole long, and I don't know why.
They brought down lights like bigger than this for a woman to sew me up for like over an hour.
See,
like
I don't even want to think.
Like it was lights like I had been abducted by aliens.
Oh my
like
God.
those type of
like a sterile.
yeah, like it was like, are you guys working on a car? Like just like the biggest lights, and you are just and like the baby's on you, and you're like, okay, and then they're stitching you, and like sometimes they tell you the amount of stitches. Some women want to watch
No,
what's happening. I
don't wanna watch that.
declined, and then you're just in a diaper for like weeks.
See, I don't think you can watch any. I had the flu during, we had called it life management skills, but like the class where you watch the birth video. I had the flu that week.
Don't
I've never
watch
seen it.
it.
Sorry,
Don't-
Mike.
Don't watch it.
I've never seen it. I don't know how any of it works. I know that my mom I'm one of 3. She had 3 C-sections, which I think is
okay.
like, I think that's where you cap out. I don't think you're allowed to have more babies after that. I
Oh
don't know,
no,
but-
you can't.
You
My
can?
friend had 5
Mm-mm.
C-sections.
See, I don't even know I don't even want to look up what that is. I'm so fine not knowing. It
I'll
scares
tell you.
me.
They slice you right here.
No.
They slice you right here.
No.
They take out all of your organs.
No.
Then they take out the baby. And then they stuff your organs back in like a fucking Chipotle burrito and sew you up and then send you back to marketing.
My poor mom.
I know. Don't you want to upgrade her Mother's Day present next year?
I mean, yeah, we gotta.
Yeah.
I just never. Oh God.
People will say like, they're like, I had a C-section, like it's a cop out, and it's like that is you basically are sawed in half.
Yeah, I've never really. I know her. She always says I'm like the miracle child because that one was like especially bad, where they like, whatever they do to make you numb, they put it in the wrong place.
Epidural.
They put the epidural. I don't know if it was like in her bloodstream. They did something where like it didn't work, but
didn't
also
take?
it knocked her out.
Oh boy.
And then I was also knocked out, but I was blue because I had like fluid in my lungs.
Oh yeah.
And so they were like, well, lost cause to both of us, and then we both ended up being fine within like 48 hours.
They
But it
thought
was
you were
like,
gonna die?
yeah, I was blue. I wasn't breathing or crying or anything. I was blue.
No.
And she was knocked out on whatever they did to her. And so everybody was like, damn, dude, this sucks. And then it
And
ended
you
up being
made it.
fine. But then I think we sued the hospital because she didn't have to pay a dime. The hospital messed up. Like I don't know if it was like their anesthesiologist
They were like, you
screwed
know
up.
what? This one's on us.
Yeah, they were like, we screwed up bad. We're really sorry. Glad you guys are alive. And then she had another one. I don't know. I guess it wasn't like a.
Maybe that's
I'm
why
really
she had the other
curious.
one. They were like, if you want to come back,
That's the other.
we'll give you a freebie.
Yeah, we'll give you a freebie. I'm always curious because I know it's like I've heard every story of like everybody who's ever had a baby is like, I'm never fucking doing this shit again.
That's what happens.
then-
then we have this hormone that's
Blindness?
released
Yeah.
that makes us
Baby
forget
blindness. Yeah.
how bad it was, so we do it again. We've like evolved because like evolution basically had
Yeah.
to like give us this hormone to forget, because I was like, I'm never doing that again, ever. Like I will look at my hemorrhoids every day of my life to remind myself why I'm not doing this again. Trying to get pregnant again.
There's got to be a hormone that is just like generally put in people's brains. Not that this isn't comparatively. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, I know how many times I've gotten drunk in my life, and every time I'm throwing up in a bathroom, I'm like, I'm never gonna do this again.
Yeah,
And then you do it again. There's got to be something in there that's like, nah, bro, just keep doing it.
It
You
may
know
be
what I
the same hormone.
You think?
Maybe
it's just like,
maybe
just keep doing
alcoholics
that
and
again.
new moms have the same sort of.
Yeah, just run it back. See if it works better this time.
Yeah.
And then your brain is like, well, I gotta see if it's better this time. Okay, so to wrap up, we got a speed round, 20 questions.
Okay.
We'll go quick. So, least favorite job you've ever had?
Oh gosh, I signed an NDA.
So we can't talk about it?
Nope, but
Okay.
I didn't like it.
All right, well, we know it's bad. Most used emoji.
The face that's melting into the ground.
Yeah. so
I use
dripping
that a
down.
lot because I'm just always like, I'm
Hell.
not doing well.
Yeah. Current favorite TV show?
I just finished Love Island US and it was incredible.
Okay, so the next one's gonna be guilty pleasure TV show.
I watch every single program that Bravo has ever put on television. Every single one.
Reality. I have to ask you after about The Traitors. I'm very curious.
Love
what you
it.
think about that. Okay,
Love
we'll,
it.
we'll talk about it later. What kind of phone was your first cell phone?
I had a pink razor.
Amazing.
It was sick.
I think a trend. People love them razors. First celeb crush.
Jalen Rose.
The basketball player?
Yeah, I wrote
Cool.
in my, because he was a Pacer and I love the Pacers. I wrote in a Aladdin journal I had with like Jasmine on the cover. I love Jalen Rose.
I used to play him in 2K all the time because he was
He's
like
the
perfect
best.
at 3-pointers, and I was like sick.
Yeah,
I'll win
my
every time.
son's middle name is Jalen after him.
No way.
Mhm.
That's adorable. Last movie that made you cry.
Oh, probably Despicable Me 4.
Yeah,
Because like we took my
the
son and he
Minions.
clapped at the end,
Oh,
and it
really?
was really cute.
Favorite website that no longer exists, or you just don't visit anymore?
Oh, was it Deadspin?
Deadspin. Is that one dead? Ah, that's probably
I
dead.
think so, right?
Yeah.
There was always fun drama on there. Once I read that Ben Roethlisberger, his penis was gray,
If that, okay.
and I
I have
believe
a lot of
it.
follow-up questions about that
Believe
one. Do you know what a JoJo Siwa is?
Of course,
Okay.
and I support her.
Okay, amazing. Best fast food, but also best fast food place. But what's your order there as well?
Taco Bell, love
Amazing.
it. Taco Bell and McDonald's. It's a Sophie choice, but I had Taco Bell on Saturday, and the one by my house, they kill it. They make it with love. Like you can tell, there's certain locations that are better. Sometimes
I
you go to
know.
McDonald's, you go make this a flagship, and then sometimes you go to McDonald's, you go close it down. Somebody undercover boss this place. It's not working. I love a cheesy gordita crunch. I'm also really into just the soft taco supremes right now.
Oh yeah.
I need them to bring back the chili cheese burrito.
Just out of curiosity, because you also said McDonald's, what's your meal there?
Quarter pounder with cheese meal,
Amazing.
no onions, and then I get a McChicken on the side.
Okay, McChicken, yes. Nobody ever. I'm a Filet-O-Fish boy, and nobody ever.
I have a
I'm
brother.
like waiting for it.
I have a
I'm like,
brother who loves Filet-O-Fish.
really? It's
Yeah.
like my go-to thing, and I've only met one other guy.
No, they're good.
And we're
That's-
best friends because of it.
That's so Catholic of you.
Yeah. I mean, I
Because
had to.
It's
yeah.
like such a. You're like Friday.
Yep, it's Friday fish time. Does ASMR make you uncomfortable?
Yes, I actually think it's really gross.
Amazing. If you could meet any comedian, dead or alive, who would it be?
Joan Rivers,
Amazing. All-time favorite comedy movie?
Mean Girls.
Have you watched the musical? No? Yes?
I went to the musical. I
Good,
went
bad,
to the
good?
musical. I remember like being high and having a great time.
Amazing. Drake or Kendrick?
Kendrick.
I threw this one in, and I'm honestly like, I don't. Cartoons are real people.
Real people. Everyone likes cartoons, though.
That's what's my confusion. I was
I'm
like,
just
I
not a
might
cartoon
spark
girly.
something.
I'm just not a cartoon girly.
I'm a cartoon boy. If you got cast in a biopic, who would you play?
Bonnie Raitt.
Describe your sense of humor in 2 words.
Fun cunt.
Favorite social media platform from any time period?
Ooh. Like, I'm going to say 2015 Instagram.
Oh, when it was still like chronological.
Yeah, when it was just like, oh, vacation.
There wasn't an algorithm. It was just a
outfits,
thing. Yeah.
babies, and why 2015.
Yeah. And who's the funniest person you know? Doesn't matter if it's a comedian. Anybody in your life.
My dad. He's insane, but he's funny.
Plugs. Do you need to plug anything?
Listen, I got nothing going on.
Nothing at all.
I mean, I'm on an Instagram break. I'm on a Twitter break. If you'd like to come and help me watch my child, I'd love that.
That's a plug. That's a plug, and that's a job for someone.
And my I still have a fat ass.
All right, so thank you so much, Megan Gailey, for joining us. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Follow us for more content like this at Funny or Die. And a final question for my guest, 1-word answer. The internet, good or bad?
Terrible!
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.